The movie begins in the quiet coastal town of Porto Rosso, a sun-soaked Italian village filled with fishermen who share one terrifying belief, that beneath the waves live dangerous sea monsters. But deep below the surface, a curious young sea creature named Luca spends his days herding fish like sheep and dreaming of what lies beyond the water. His mother constantly warns him about the human world, telling him stories of hunters and harpoons. Yet Luca can't stop imagining what life might be like up there, where the sun glows brighter and freedom seems endless. One day, while collecting fallen trinkets from a nearby shipwreck, Luca spots something strange, a diver descending toward him in an old rusted suit. Panicked, he hides behind rocks, his heart racing. But instead of danger, he finds something extraordinary. Another sea monster boy named Alberto. Confident and adventurous, Alberto takes the human objects Luca's found and swims toward the surface, leaving Luca torn between fear and overwhelming curiosity. Unable to resist, Luca follows. When Alberto steps onto land, something magical happens. His scales vanish, replaced by human skin. Luca's eyes widen as Alberto transforms before his very eyes. In a moment of daring, Alberto grabs Luca's hand and pulls him up onto the beach. Suddenly, Luca too changes. His tail replaced by legs, his fins by hands. Gravity feels strange. Air feels heavy, and for the first time, Luca stands on dry land, trembling with excitement and fear. Alberto explains that whenever they're dry, they appear human, but a single drop of water will bring their true form back. The two quickly bond, exploring the island together. Alberto tells Luca his father is away traveling, leaving him to live alone, and he proudly shows off his human treasures. Broken clocks, metal scraps, and especially a colorful poster of a Vespa scooter. To Alberto, the Vespa represents ultimate freedom, the power to go anywhere. For Luca, it's a dream taking shape. They decide to build one. Using driftwood and scraps, they cobble together a wobbly makeshift scooter. When they finally ride down a hill, their laughter fills the air, until they crash spectacularly into the sea. Drenched and giggling, they emerge in their sea monster forms once again. Luca rushes home late, and his worried mother demands to know where he's been. His grandmother, however, secretly smiles. She too once visited the surface. Luca can't stop thinking about the world above. Every chance he gets, he returns to Alberto's island. Together, they build and rebuild, test and crash, until their friendship grows unshakable. But Luca's parents soon realize he's been sneaking away. Fearing for his safety, they plan to send him to live with his deep-sea uncle, a terrifying creature from the dark abyss. Horrified, Luca runs away to Alberto, who convinces him that the only real escape is to leave the sea altogether. So, under the cover of moonlight, the two boys swim toward Porto Rosso. Using a broken boat as camouflage, they sneak ashore and step into a world bursting with color, smells, and noise. Everything is strange and exciting. Cobblestone streets, bicycles, and the delicious scent of pasta. But trouble comes fast. When Luca accidentally kicks a soccer ball into a bully's Vespa, they meet Ercole Visconti, the arrogant local champion of the Porto Rosso Cup. Furious, Ercole humiliates them, trying to dunk Luca's head into a fountain, which could expose his secret. Just before disaster strikes, a red-haired girl named Giulia intervenes, saving them and chasing Ercole away. Giulia, spirited and determined, dreams of beating Ercole in the annual Porto Rosso Cup, a grueling triathlon of swimming, cycling, and pasta eating. Hearing that the winner earns prize money and glory, Luca and Alberto offer to join her team. They agree that Giulia will swim, since the boys can't risk touching water, while Luca handles cycling and Alberto devours the pasta. Giulia brings them home to meet her father, Massimo, a one-armed fisherman with a booming voice and a heart of gold. His walls are covered in harpoons and mounted fish, and though he hunts sea monsters, his kindness surprises the boys. They help him with fishing, using their secret underwater knowledge to fill his nets with ease. For the first time, Luca feels accepted, even if he's hiding who he really is. Training begins. The trio practices cycling through the hilly streets, stuffing pasta like champions, and avoiding every splash of water. But Ercole isn't done tormenting them. During one training day, he speeds his boat toward them, splashing water everywhere. The droplets hit Alberto's face, and in a flash, scales appear. Luca panics, covering for him just in time, but the scare shakes them deeply. Meanwhile, Luca's parents arrive in town searching for him, soaking children in the plaza fountain to expose their son's secret. It's chaos, but somehow they miss him. That night, as Giulia and Luca study the stars, she lends him her telescope and teaches him about planets and galaxies. For Luca, it's life-changing. He realizes the world is far bigger than he ever imagined. But Alberto starts to feel left out. Watching Luca's growing bond with Giulia fills him with jealousy and fear of losing his only friend. When Luca talks about going to school one day, Alberto mocks the idea, saying humans would never accept them if they knew the truth. The tension between them builds like a storm. Soon it erupts. During a heated argument on the hillside, Alberto reveals his sea monster form in front of Giulia, desperate to prove he and Luca are the same. But Luca, terrified of being exposed, denies knowing him and calls him a monster. Heartbroken, Alberto flees back to his lonely island. Giulia, realizing the truth, throws water on Luca, revealing his true form too. But instead of fear, she shows compassion, urging him to hide before the townspeople discover him. Luca is torn apart by guilt and shame. He misses his friend but doesn't know how to fix what he's broken. He swims back to Alberto's island, where the place is in ruins. On the walls, he sees tallies scratched into stone, marks for each day Alberto's father never returned. Luca finally understands. Alberto has been alone for years. Quietly, he sits beside him, promising they'll win the race together. But Alberto, crushed by betrayal, turns away. Luca decides he must finish the race on his own, for both of them. The day of the Porto Rosso Cup arrives. Rain clouds gather ominously above. Luca disguises himself in an old diving suit to stay dry and joins the swimmers, trudging awkwardly along the ocean floor. Ercole, as always, cheats, slicking his teammate with oil to glide faster. But karma strikes when fish swarm him, biting at his legs. Luca barely finishes the swim, racing through the pasta stage with clumsy forks and wide-eyed determination. Julia cheers him on, but Ercole plots to sabotage him once again. Still, Luca fights through, pushing himself toward the cycling stage, the part he's trained hardest for. His heart races. Victory feels close. But then, raindrops, cold and merciless. Luca covers himself with cardboard, trying to stay dry, as thunder echoes above. He's losing ground fast. Just when hope fades, a familiar figure appears on the hilltop. Alberto, holding an umbrella. Despite everything, he's come back. As Alberto runs toward him, Ercole kicks the umbrella from his hands, drenching him instantly. Gasps erupt as the crowd sees his shimmering blue scales. Ercole grabs a net, shouting for the townsfolk to capture the monster. Alberto freezes in fear, and then Luca makes his choice. He throws off his cover, rides into the rain, and reveals himself as a sea monster too. The crowd is stunned. The boy they've cheered for isn't human. Yet Luca doesn't stop. He grabs Alberto, lifts him onto the bike, and together they race down the hill as thunder roars and Ercole gives chase. The chase is breathtaking. Wheels spin, water splashes, and the boys fly through the streets of Porto Rosso. Ercole hurls harpoons, furious and desperate, but Julia intervenes, crashing her bike into his to stop him. She falls hard, and seeing her hurt, Luca and Alberto skid to a stop, rushing to her side despite the danger. By now, everyone has gathered around. Massimo steps forward, harpoon in hand. For a tense moment, it seems he might strike, until he recognizes Luca and Alberto. Seeing their courage, he stands before the crowd and declares, "They're the winners!" Ercole sputters with rage, insisting they aren't human, but no one listens. The crowd, moved by their bravery, begins to cheer. Even Luca's parents arrive, tears in their eyes, proud of their son. The rain pours down, washing away fear and hatred. The townsfolk slowly realize that sea monsters aren't monsters at all. They're just like them. From that day, Porto Rosso becomes a place where land and sea finally live in peace. With the prize money, Luca and Alberto buy a battered old Vespa. It barely holds together, but to them, it's perfect. A symbol of every dream they dared to chase. They ride it along the cliffs, laughing into the wind, knowing their bond has survived everything. As summer fades, Julia must return to school in the city of Genoa. Luca joins her at the train station, heart heavy but eyes bright. He's ready for the next adventure, to learn, to grow, to see the world above the waves. Then Alberto reveals his final gift. He sold their Vespa to buy Luca's train ticket. It's the ultimate act of friendship. With a tearful goodbye, Luca hugs Alberto, promising they'll see each other again. As the train pulls away, he looks out the window at the sparkling sea, the world he's leaving behind and the one that shaped him. His story isn't about running from who he is, but embracing it completely. Because sometimes to truly live, you have to dive into the unknown, even if it means revealing the sea monster inside. If you could live both in the sea and on land, which world would you choose? Tell me in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join great animation recaps for more epic movie journeys like this one.